Hey guys, this week's First Chapter Friday is speculation. The first chapter is good, but I don't feel like it really gives you a whole scope of the story, so we are going to start with the description this week. When her little sister breaks Winna's glasses, their grandfather gives Winna an old-timey pair of spectacles that belonged to her great-aunt Estelle. The specs are silver and perfectly circular with tiny stars on the bridge and earpieces that curl all the way around her ears. But best of all, they're magic. Because when Winna makes a wish, beginning with the words, what if, that is, when she speculates, the spectacles grant it. Winna wishes she could see ghosts, and soon she meets not only the real Estelle, but Estelle's grandmother, Winona. Nearly a century before, Winona escaped from slavery and ran north with her baby Key. But Key was stolen from her under mysterious circumstances, and now Estelle and Winona have a mission for Winna. Find Key. He's still alive. He doesn't know the whole truth. And unless Winna can solve the mystery and bring him home, a powerful curse called the Burden will smother their family's lives. And Winna's mom could be the next victim. So there's a lot going on in here. Family story, mystery story, historical fiction, modern fiction. So it's got a lot of stuff. Chapter 1. It was raining lilacs. At least, that's what it looked like to Winna, sitting on her grandparents' screened-in porch. The tiny squares of dark mesh blurred things together, going in and out of focus so silver drops of rain became the flowers they fell from, and fell all around. Winna took off her glasses to make it more like that, more mixed up and mysterious. Magic. Magic was real. Grown-ups and high school kids said there was no such thing, but Winna knew they were wrong. They just said that because they'd given up. You can't give up, she muttered to herself. Mom said so all the time, even when she had to go to the hospital. Going to the hospital was not giving up. Winna stroked the spine of the book that Mom had given her. Well, Mom had given her the money to buy it, digging into her purse and trusting her with a whole month's allowance before she got into the taxi cab to the hospital and shut the door, and blew a kiss out of the open window as the cab pulled off down the street. Winna hadn't seen her since, for 2 whole weeks. She left her glasses off and picked the book up from the patchwork quilt she had tucked her legs around so that she could sit alone in the cool, flower-smelling porch. She had to put the page away up close to her face, which was supposed to be bad for you. But maybe some of the story would rub off on her. It was called The Time Garden. It was by Winna's favorite author right now, Edward Eager. He wrote about magic happening to just regular, ordinary kids, just like her. Or almost just like her. They were all white. They always managed to find an enchanted something, a well or a book or a coin. Winna was tall for her age, 10, and she was constantly being told to stand up straight and act like she was proud of her height by everyone but Mom, who must have heard the same thing all her life. Winna tried to have good posture like everyone wanted, but it was hard when she was always looking on the ground for a magic object, a ring, maybe, or a scroll of papyrus inscribed with strange runic symbols. Meanwhile, there was the book. The adventures started when Anne, Roger, Eliza, and Jack discovered an enchanted plant that let them travel in time. The magic had just whisked them away to a tropical island, and now they were trying to keep their own parents, who as children had apparently had similar adventures, from being consumed by cannibals for lunch. It was kind of funny, but scary too, because it made Winna think how if someone eats your mother as a little girl, you don't have a real good chance of being born. 40 pages passed, and the dangers of cannibals were replaced by those of fire-breathing dragons. Winna tried for a 3rd time to brush away the spider web or mosquito or whatever it was that was tickling her knee where the quilt slipped off. She touched something soft and squiggly and damp. Ugh, she cried, jumping up on the back of the armchair. But it was only her little sister, Tupelo, who stuck her wet fingers back in her mouth and started crying like the baby she was, sitting on the floor, always sneaking up on people. Winna sighed and rolled her eyes back so she was looking at the dirty white rafters of the porch ceiling. Can't a person get privacy? Tupelo sniffed and took her fingers out so she could wipe her nose with the back of her pudgy brown hand. But there wasn't nothing on TV. Anything. There wasn't anything on TV, Winna corrects. There wasn't anything on TV, Tupelo amended, except Highway Patrol, and I was lonely. Her dark eyes stared up accusingly. Winna made an effort to put herself in her sister's place, not down to the floor, but the way her guidance counselor, Miss Ross, was always trying to get her to do. Of course, Tupelo was lonely. Way out here in the country, well, in Vandalia, but Vandalia practically was the country. A church, a barber's, a post office, which was, of course, closed on Memorial Day. No kids they knew for miles around, unless you counted their cousin Benny, who was a year older and a little mean. So Winna would have to play with Tupelo herself. Well, what do you want to do? She asked. I don't know. But she looked a little better, grateful to be asked. You still got that coloring book Aunt Marv gave you? Yeah, but I don't feel like coloring, Tupelo said. After a few more guesses, Winna decided that all her sister really wanted was someone to cuddle with. All right, she said, motioning with one arm. Come on up here, big girl. Let me see if I can do anything with that head. She had her comb in her back pocket, and she had to twist it around to get out. So she didn't see what happened next, but she heard it. Crunch. It was an awful sound, and Winna knew exactly what it meant. Last time that sound had come from under the paws of an overly friendly German shepherd, and now it issued forth from beneath her sister's butt. Tupelo rose right back up from the chair cushion, as if going into reverse fast enough could undo the damage. But it was hopeless. The whole weekend was ruined. Winna's glasses were broken, and that was that. And while there are a few more pages to chapter 1, we will leave off there so this doesn't get too long. So again, a little bit of supernatural, lots of family story, little bit of mystery. There's a lot going on in here. So come by the library and check it out.